Is there a no? Oh, okay, guys, welcome to episode 4 of Quartz Mindset. Today we're here with a friend who's helping me run the podcast today. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, name's Matt. Matt Court here through online streaming, Twitch, social media, etc. I'm a designer myself. Good to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We were talking before, and I think what's cool is we're both artists. I feel like I was thinking about things we could talk about, and I think that something that really like came up for me in my head was like influential cartoons.
Yeah.
I think we all have that one cartoon we watched as a kid that majorly impacts how we do things. And I feel like for me it was Calvin and Hobbes. Have you ever read Calvin
Oh,
and Hobbes?
yeah. Yes, I've heard of them. They were in the newspaper. Is that right?
Originally, yes, but then
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just became like books.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like a whole thing where it was like it was in newspapers at first. It was like
Okay.
Peanuts, and then it
Hmm.
kind of like took off, one of those. But yeah, I like Calvin and Hobbes a lot. I think if you are in our age group, you know of Calvin and Hobbes. I feel like
I would say so.
there's a huge, I think, gap now with cartoons to where um, Calvin and Hobbes was like our like I don't want to say it's anime. Anime has always been a thing, but Calvin and Hobbes is our like thing. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean for sure. I remember seeing a lot of that in the newspaper. Personally. For me, I did grow up watching a lot of cartoons. I can't think of so many off the top of my head, but I can't think of like video game characters. I think that really sparked a lot of my creativity early on. But so is that kind of where you get your style from? Those the way they draw those cartoons, or how does
I,
that work
I
for you?
I feel like even with my book, it's more based in Calvin and Hobbes, and then it's just like newer stuff. I feel like I'm drawn to the weirder side of art with style wise. Like if you've ever read Umbrella Academy, it's a graphic novel series. The guy is a Brazilian artist. He has a very interesting way of drawing his characters, and they don't look very normal. And
Mm,
it's very just I don't want to say sloppy, but it doesn't look organized.
yeah.
And just the way colors are used. And I think with like style, I think I'm just drawn to that. Like even where um Peanuts is like a big thing for me too. Like I used to love like Charlie Brown and how that's drawn, and even like Snoopy, and just like how it looks and like the art style and how like the movies were made, and how instead of it being where it's clean, it looks very messy. So like if you see smoke, it's just like you see like a line.
Right.
You just see it being a line, and it's not like made to be like, oh, we're gonna clean this up to be organized.
That's right. Yeah, you can see a lot of the line work going through the colors that they put in to those drawings, and not to mention the animation. Right, the animation itself,
Yeah.
the way they move is very kind of crude. Um,
Yeah.
not a lot of productions go in that direction. Right, they like to polish them up perfectly, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a classic. Right, and I think that's one of their key characteristics.
Do
Um,
you like? I mean, I feel weird about it, but do you feel like it's weird how you see newer like shows and cartoons where you see like how it's redone, like even like Scott Pilgrim, how they're redoing it, and it's just it doesn't look messy anymore. It's more
mhm,
like polished.
that's
I
right.
think I think it's weird. I think it's very weird. I don't. I don't always enjoy it because I think some things don't need to be in that way. It can be messy and it's fine. Or it
Of
could
course.
look, yeah, it can look more like, I guess if we're talking like look wise, it could be less matte, like
That's right.
MATTE, because you're,
Hmm.
because I don't know,
Like,
you just see it, I mean, what do you think?
yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, if you take a look at some of the work that I do, it's the same way, right? Like, I do a lot of stuff just by hand. I don't use too many tools, too many automation methods. I'm into concept art and visual development, so um, I like things at the sketch level. To be honest, I think you can really see motion in the lines when they're not, kind of cleaned up. So, kind of just taking that original sketch is enough to spark my interest. To be honest, it's when you clean them up to 300% is when I start to kind of drift away a bit. It looks like it came off factory line a bit, and that's
Yeah,
not my thing too much. Um, so I think the thing about it is that the pixel perfect stuff does actually appeal to the masses a bit more, right? Because it's just more visually easy to look at and to digest. So I think that's why a lot of them go in that direction. Um, but then you have things like revolutionary things like South Park, where they went the completely different route with it, right? And all of their stuff is very crude, and that's kind of what made them pretty special. So it's not to say people aren't doing it. It's just that I think most people are have the pixel perfect polished approach, right?
yeah. Wasn't South Park like cutouts? It was like cutouts of paper.
Yeah, I think they may have actually done that originally. It was just you know cuts of paper that they kind of it almost looks like stop motion animation, right?
Yeah.
But they do South Park in Maya actually in a 3D application. Interestingly
Oh,
enough,
I didn't
yeah,
actually know
yeah,
that.
isn't that interesting? Yeah, I didn't. Maybe they might not do it now. That show is like 20 years old now, but
Yeah.
I do remember down the line them saying that they do that in Maya. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, South Park just doesn't care about anything though. They're just kind of like
Yeah, I mean, when you're a comedy, you can get away with the shittiness and how things look and how things move because it really doesn't matter, right? Um,
yeah.
all that matters is how funny it is. It makes it even funnier, right? So, um, but I think that things that are hand drawn they're a bit more authentic, in my opinion, and there's more
Yeah.
soul in that. So,
Cause yeah, you could make something like digital look like it's not digital at the same time.
but
Like
at the
it
same
doesn't.
time, not to cut you off, but at the same time, to go in the completely opposite direction, you look at like sports cars that are like completely perfect in the way they look and the way that they are rendered. And I love that shit. I love cars. So it's not to say I don't have an affinity for things that are completely smooth and so I like it all, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like with design, it's kind of preference,
Excuse me.
because I don't know. I saw a thing where they were talking about logos for food places and brands, and they've been going a more simple kind of route with things
That's right. You're
from
right on
what it
that.
was originally. And I don't know, because I think it's not that I don't agree with it. I just feel like it makes sense when you try to make things more simple, because then you can have your products can be the weird, and then the logo can be the simple. It doesn't,
Yeah, of course.
as long as you're doing something to push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned kind of the progression and how logos are rendered, right? From like the 80s to now. So you had the logo, like I don't know, like I guess Pepsi could be one of those. Uh, I don't know. I'm not good with logos, but I know a lot of them were really rendered out, kind of done in 3D. Kind of they have like a bevel on them or a drop shadow, but now they're completely flat, right?
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I like the flat, minimalistic approach. That's my thing. I think they're more easily readable. They're more easy to kind of just understand, in my opinion. But
I agree
yeah,
with that.
even Apple had the same thing going on. Uh, they've been through different versions as well.
Yeah, because like even if you look at my phone, like it's just like the shape, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of cool. I think some things work as simple. Some
Microsoft is a
things,
pretty good example too.
yeah.
Microsoft had like a glass 3D-ish render to it, but now it's just four boxes. Some of them when they modernized their logos didn't do a very good job, but some of them did a good job, I thought.
Yeah.
So
Some graphic
yeah,
designers are very lazy because you see a logo.
I
I know you probably do it
know.
too. You probably do it
Oh,
too.
bro, you
You
know it.
see a
You
logo and
know it.
you're just like, guys, I could have did
Well,
that
yeah,
better.
that's funny you say that because I was around kind of during all that transition, and it started off with making these real fancy, ornate borders and buttons with 3D drop shadows and glass effects. But now all the boss says is, "Nah, get rid of all that. We just want a flat button." It's like, all right, I'll do that. I'll spend 5 seconds on it. That's cool, and I'll just go on YouTube the rest of the day. That's fine with me. If that's where it's
Yeah.
going, that's where it's going. You know.
Yeah. Just write
But
the
on
word.
the
Just
other
write
hand,
the
you have to
word.
be
Yeah.
careful.
Just write the word there in like sans serif, and that's it. Just write the word there. That's all you got to do. That's all you want. Maybe put a
Right,
star in the
exactly.
corner or something.
Yeah.
You're like, that's it. Okay, yeah, I could do that.
Well, it's more like it went from like having borders around elements and like sectioning things off and like containers to like, all right, we're just gonna get rid of all the borders and all the containers and everything's just gonna be floating in space and there's no order or organization whatsoever. And that's like Web
That's
3.0 right there. There you go. Do that. And, and then it's like, well, what do I do then? You know, like
right.
uh,
You just get paid to really
just
make nonsense.
what you're doing then is just arranging the elements. You're not actually creating there are no borders anymore, right? They all removed.
Yeah.
So what you're doing then is you're just arranging them and you're arranging them in certain sections. So
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
man, it's funny. You ever get like commissions where people are like, "Hey, I want you to make something, but like make it super simple," and you're just kind of like, you could have did this on your
Yeah.
own.
You know, I've had certain they weren't commissions, but they were requests by people who aren't really familiar in the design space. They're like, give me something real simple, real basic, real quick, and so I'll do it and I'll send it back to them, and then they'll say, "Wait, I could have done that," and I'm like, "Yeah, you probably could
Yeah.
have." So it's but the thing is sometimes the more simple it looks, the harder it is to pull off. So there is the reverse
Yeah.
effect on that. In order to simplify something, you need to actually understand it pretty well. So
That's it. That's it. I think that's it too, because if you've ever tried to draw something like Peanuts, it
mm,
looks so easy. It looks like it's just circles, you know?
yep,
And then you sit and you try to draw a character, and it's just like, no, that does not look like Peanuts. It's like,
yep.
what? How? They just, they just, it's like you're like, that makes no sense. And you're sitting there trying to draw it. And you get close, but you're just like, this isn't it.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you go to a website and it's really clean and it doesn't look like anything's on there, right? Chances are the very first version of that website had a bunch of information on it. And what they did was is that as after every iteration, they removed elements and they moved things around up until they couldn't remove anything more, right? Um, So what you see is the final product, which is very clean and it looks easy because it's clean, right? Like, oh, there's
Yeah.
only a few things on here, but really the hard part was trying to figure out what excess fat to remove from the original design. That was the hard part. So all you see is the end product. So
Yeah,
we go through
that's
this all the time in UI, So
yeah. I'm working on a blog right now, and
okay,
I'm drawing the stuff for it, and it's like
gotcha.
you're like, oh my god, it's like no, that's too much color. Nah, you gotta do less color. No, the thing is too simple. And I have to put more words. It's like you're
Yeah.
sitting there, just like it's like just choosing what stays, what goes, and it takes forever. And then it
Right.
doesn't save. It doesn't save at all. So then you have to go and redo everything. It's but
So you're writing these
that's
blog posts and then you're drawing images to the what you
uh
wrote. Is that what you're doing?
no, it's like a I can't really like say much about it, but it pertains to something, and
Okay.
it'll be out soon enough. It'll be out soon. I'll say that much. It'll be out soon enough. But you like when you're in the behind the scenes of everything, you really
Mhm.
see everything when you're behind the scenes of stuff.
No
You work
doubt.
on
Mhm.
it's like, and I think that's everything. Working on a show, or let's say you're designing a web page, or you're making a logo. You really see everything that goes into it. So it's like when people look at it and they have an opinion and they're like, oh, I don't like it. It's too this, it's too that. You're just kind of like, hi, yeah, you're not the person, you know, uh, making it. So it's cool that you have that opinion, but
Mhm.
maybe you want to come back here and see everything I'm doing before you're telling me it's too simple, it's too whatever, right?
Mhm.
It's just, it's weird. It's like that world no one ever really sees. Like you want them to see
Yeah.
it, but then it's like you don't want them to see it, because then that's when it's like,
No, they don't need to see that.
so did you have a good like relationship with school? Because like
With school, uh, all right, all right. I had a pretty normal kind of upbringing. I did
I mean
study
I mean like art
tech.
school, where it's like
Did
art
not go to
school.
art school. I did not go to art school. I studied telecommunications in college, which is
Um,
essentially communication over wire. So it's more of like an IT pursuit. I did take a few digital media related classes, but nothing too deep. I'm a self-taught artist, so I
Self-taught's the
did all that
best
on the
taught.
side. Yeah, I
Self-taught
got kind of
is best
lucky
taught.
early on. Got a few designer jobs, and I kind of just stayed in the design role. So design is a bit more like different than art path, but yeah.
Yeah, design, like people always assume, like, because I say illustration, and people
Mhm.
think when I say illustration that I'm out here making like I could do a web page for you. And I'm like, that's not what I do. Like
Yeah.
illustration is like drawing, like the characters, and for like books and stuff, you need a designer. And someone's like, designer. I'm like, yeah, the design is not illustration. Illustration is not. It's like there's different fields.
Exactly.
There's different fields to everything that I think
Exactly.
people don't realize.
Yeah,
Although
you're completely right.
yeah, because like I've done design, I've helped someone with design, but
Mhm.
like I don't know much about it. Like if you were to give me a thing like a web page, and you're like, make this web page look right, it's like I don't know the languages to sit there and be like, oh, let me check the code. Like I wouldn't know how to do any of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, design is a very general like label, right? Like it can be applied to anything. and there are a lot of things that bleed through design. So you'll probably get a lot of business in there, marketing, product, obviously, and also art, right? Like the art has to be in there as well. So
Yeah.
um, a lot of companies are looking at design as sort of a like a necessity, like a main pillar of the company, whereas it used to be more of like a hire an artist that could just be a designer type of thing. Now it's like it's looked at a bit differently. And of course, in my path, it's changed as well. Like I started off as a graphic designer, so I purely made graphics, buttons, borders. I mean, I did website designs, but I didn't do any of the hardcore UX work that I do now in product. So I've transitioned personally. So, but you've always done artwork, right?
Actually, no.
Oh, okay.
I did photography first.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. So that's kind of an art pursuit. My sister's really good at that.
I did photography and I couldn't do it anymore. I had a blog for 4 years
Yeah.
and I would I would basically go out shooting almost every 3 days.
Okay.
And then I was trying to get like gigs and photo shoots. And when I tell you that these apps you see on like Instagram and for editing your photos and how to do all that stuff, it's great, sure. But when you're trying to do it like with like a camera and you're trying to build yourself up, these apps don't do you any favors. In fact, they kind of take away jobs. I hate wearing these headphones. It's like
Yeah.
it's the worst. Um, but yeah, they take away more from like jobs and opportunities because people are learning how to do these things, and these apps are telling you how to do it, and they're simplifying it. But it's like it's not really in a way that it makes sense for a professional setting. If you want to do something professional, you got to hire a person to do it. As much as like you can, sometimes you can do stuff by yourself. Yes, like you can. Oh, okay, cool. Um, cool. We have like 9 minutes for this first one. Just heads up. But
Yeah.
yeah, you see it and you realize that people are trying to do things and pass it off as things like someone who wants to make money. Maybe they don't realize how hard it is for a person doing it, especially like if you are like a designer or like a photographer or something. It's like maybe you went to school for it, maybe you got certified, maybe you know what I mean. That's why you're getting paid for it. It I don't know, it just feels kind of weird sometimes.
To be honest, I don't even know how you would make a living as a photographer these days. Like, you would have to have a real good business mind, really, in my opinion. Like, you would have to target very trending things and maybe sell high res photos of those things. It just seems extremely saturated, along with a lot of other fields, to be honest,
That's why I
on the
quit.
web.
Couldn't do
It's
it.
just, it's like, what I mean, you can take the best pictures you want, best pictures you've ever seen, and yet I still don't know how you could, even uh, do it. But you would have to have some kind of creative angle to it and some sort of niche audience, maybe. But that would be a very difficult endeavor, I think, in 2022, in
I
my
think at this
opinion.
point, yeah, I feel like everyone thinks they're, not to put it down. I think it's cool that people want to be creative, but I think everyone feels like they can do
I
that job.
agree. I think the thing about doing creatives is like like anybody can do this and that, but it really does require a bit of dedication. It's almost a lifelong pursuit. You have to come to accept that. Otherwise, eventually it'll trickle off, and you'll kind of lose it. But another thing is like how do you keep things fresh? right? A lot of people struggle with that. You know, a lot of people I see kind of get on and they do the usual this and that, same topics, titles, and then it starts to the quality starts to die down. And I I kind of struggle with that when I was doing my Instagrams. I think uh, Instagram is tough, you know, because you got to
Oh,
come up with
dude.
something kind of quick every day. I'm better off when I kind of write a story and then I draw to that story. That way, the story is already there. It's like the blueprint is already written down. Now I have work for the rest of the year, and I don't really need to come up with any ideas because it's already written down. I like to work
Yeah,
like that.
I do the
Um,
same thing. I do like series stuff where I'll only post like a series that I'm working on, and then I'll just go to a next series and then go to a next one because then it's less work. You know, you already know what the next posts are going to be.
that's and that's a comforting feeling, at least to me. Um, but I mean, who knows? I mean, there was a period of time where I was doing one-offs on Instagram. You know, the problem with the Instagram posting, in my opinion, is that there's not much depth in an Instagram post. It's very cheap. You know, it's kind of just like for instance, I was doing those speed paints. Like those are cool and they were definitely fun, but they don't. It is what it is, and that's it. You know, it's not part of any kind of series. It's not part of any kind of story. It's just
Yeah,
something that I did to release some stress, I guess.
I think that's the issue with Instagram too. It's very based on that moment because you
Pretty
know
much.
when you're on Instagram, you're scrolling. You're not really yeah, you're looking for something, but you're not on there to really look at something. You're on there just to be like, oh, well,
Yeah, it's meant for a split second.
yeah, it's like, you know, and it's hard to even I think it's funny because before it wasn't a thing where it was to have like a brand manager and all that stuff. But now you're seeing where people like they're like social media managers and like they're helping people get attention and it's like it makes the whole thing seem like it's a job. And
It
then
very much
when
is.
and then when you do art, it's trickier too because you have to like be in front of it because it's like you're creative. So you have to be in front of it. And it's like if you're not like presenting the right way, that could easily just as much hurt you as it is helping you.
Yeah, I mean, if if you if you do like a subpar piece of work compared to the rest of your works, you might lose a few followers, whatever, whatever.
Or if you're not
But
posting.
I think yeah, Instagram is good. I just to kind of keep the momentum going, I guess, and to kind of document maybe your progress. You know, have a collection of works up there. Just to, I think for artists, Instagram is great for artists and designers who, like, aside their big projects, they do these like one-offs, and Instagram is good for that to show people that they're kind of that they know how to sketch, you know, on a daily basis. Because you can get real deep into the bigger projects and it can kind of consume you. So I think Instagram is good to store the real kind of quick projects.
Yeah, if it is like you're documenting something.
Pretty much. Like for me, example, like I'm a designer. Like I don't need to know how to draw. Like I don't even know how to do any of that really. But like I do have an Instagram and I do know how to draw and I post to my Instagram. So it's like if you're trying to hire me as a designer, you might see that I also have an Instagram. So now you see that, oh, so he does creative work on the side. So I think that is a great use of Instagram for someone like me, at least. So,
Or using it to be like where you are like if you have something bigger, like a shop somewhere or like a Patreon or anything like that, you can use
mhm.
Instagram as a like for ads. You can use it to just show like, oh, okay. Let's say your Patreon is for something like you're writing a book. You can use your Instagram to build to your Patreon to where like maybe a post isn't like a piece of art, but it's maybe a part of your story. And you could just be like, oh, this is a part of the book. If you want to check it out, it's here.
Right.
And
Right.
as like a tool.
Yeah, you can do ads, right? Um, you can kind of use
Yeah.
it several different ways. But
I feel like there's a lot of like social media can be really helpful, but I think for me, I don't take it too personal. I used to, and I think that was wrong of me to do. But I think you can use it to be just smarter about what you're doing. You know,
right,
you
right,
can just be
exactly.
smart about it. So
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
because you can use everything just to help you out. I think I'm not. I feel weird because like I don't really. I know people who use social media a lot, and it's like the whole influencer thing. And I personally don't get it because I don't. I prefer my privacy. You
Yeah,
know, I
is
do.
that why you stream on Twitch every other day?
Twitch is different though.
Yeah,
You
Twitch is
know,
social media, right?
Twitch is social, but it's different. It's not.
It is different. I agree with
It
you there.
is like you can be more. You can talk about stuff because it's you,
Yeah,
and it is a more personal setting. It is
yeah.
people um, coming in to see you. It's not like a
I love
situation like
Twitch. I
Instagram.
think Twitch is the best one. I would rather have Twitch and have maybe a few followers in there every other day. If not, I don't care if I don't get any. Like sometimes I'm like, hell yeah, they left me alone today. Like, but
Yeah, you want the privacy.
you know, like today I had a
Yeah.
couple of people watching me, a couple anonymous actually. Like that's always interesting too when you get a couple people in there,
Oh my
and
God.
especially when you're a real small streamer like me, uh, and you're kind of just doing your thing and